That's everything. I'm just hiding one.
Cormier, Francis, and Lewis, Felder, and Perry. Chiesa and Pettis. Chiesa missed weight. He has to.
So is that fighting up there?
No, it's still there, but he needs to. He loses money.
Bummer.
Oh, Gokhan Saki. I've never seen him before.
Gokhan Saki.
Is he on? That's the main card?
That's the main card because he does not fight when it's done. This is the main card.
Oh, wow. It's a pretty solid main card.
I would say.
I'll just have to wait for people to join in. Maybe Rob will join in.
No problem with this.
Rob was on there earlier. Can't get rid of this stupid thing.
I don't know.
I don't want the bots. Hold on. Oh, bots, would you piss off?
Do I give you a name for it though?
Yeah, that's not a bad name.
I changed it because it was originally my own show, so I was like, I don't think we want to keep the name I've been using for myself at all. Be like Bill and Ted. Hence where I got it from.
Yeah.
How's the piss?
It's alright.
As you called it. Nobody yet. There's the other thing right there. We go. I would have loved to see the last fight if he didn't get concussion.
Holloway, yeah.
Who would have won the fight, Holloway or
Ortega? That would have been a close one. I'm not sure who would have won that one.
Also, sounds like nobody so far, folks. I'll just sit down this until otherwise.
Holloway would have been. Maybe Holloway if it would have went the distance, probably.
Nice. Do you see anything tonight going the distance?
I think DC and Stipe probably go the distance.
Nice.
Probably.
People are saying DC is going to win by TKO tonight.
I don't know. Maybe. DC hasn't lost a round yet in the heavyweight division.
I don't know.
No, he hasn't lost anything in the heavyweight division yet.
That's crazy.
He hasn't even been taken down at all in his heavyweight division.
No, he likes... Oh, someone joined.
What's going on, man? It's probably Rob.
Probably.
Talking about UFC 226. Who's your prediction? Stipe Miocic or Daniel Cormier? And the main event, the co-main event, we got Francis Ngannou taking on Derek Lewis. It's going to be a wicked heavyweight fight. I think Francis is going to knock him out, probably inside either the first round or the second round. Probably set up a rematch with Stipe down the road, probably for Francis Ngannou.
Nice. Nice. Who do you see? Who's better fit for Brock? The Humper or the other guy?
I don't know. Brock Lesnar's supposed to be there tonight, and supposedly supposed to fight the winner of this fight, so we'll see. DC hasn't lost a round inside the heavyweight division, which makes things really interesting. But if Stipe can put his hands on him and finish him early on in this fight, I don't know. It's going to be a tough one to call for sure.
What's going to be good nonetheless?
Oh yeah, I think probably maybe Stipe, but it's really close and really hard to tell on that one. But yeah, for Brock, I'd like to see maybe not so much a title fight, because I know Cain Velasquez is in the mix too. He wants to come back and fight the winner. So I'd sooner see Brock come back maybe and fight Francis Ngannou in the heavyweight division. That would be a wicked scrap.
I agree. Start with a fight first before going to the big title. And could we see the Universal title, what he has still tonight?
It's very possible.
That would be an epic shocker. I'd love to see him have a garbage can and put the Universal title in the garbage can. And have Paul Heyman stand beside him and doing it. That would be... I'd be epic.
Yeah, that'd probably be pretty funny.
What else do we see? Well, we can... So talking the event, UFC 3 the game just brought legends into the game that we didn't expect.
Yeah, if you guys don't have UFC 3 yet, you can get the UFC 3 Icons version of the game, which comes with Tito Ortiz, Mirko Krokop, Kimbo Slice, and Matt Serra as playable characters for UFC 3, the Icons edition.
And definitely weren't the fighters.
Oh, yeah.
So who would you like to see come in if they could do a second Icons pack? Who would you like to see a part of part 2 if they did one?
And if they add another one, probably Randy Couture, Chael Sonnen. There's so many. Ken Shamrock probably would be a cool one to add in there.
And the Beast Incarnate himself.
Brock Lesnar would
Brock
be a cool
Lesnar.
addition. So many good fighters that they can add in there.
So we could be getting DLC, fighters for a long time if you do it right.
Probably. I don't think Frank Mir's in the game, but Frank Mir would be a cool guy to add in if he's not already in the game.
Nice. It's going. Well, nobody asking any questions. It's been a long time since we've done something on our show.
Yeah. They just recently announced yesterday, UFC, the next season of The Ultimate Fighter is going to feature Robert Whittaker as one of the coaches going up against Kelvin Gastelum, the other coach. They're going to be fighting later on this year. UFC also announced UFC is coming to Toronto, guys, December. So definitely stay tuned for that if you live in the Toronto area. You guys are getting UFC 232, I think it is. I think it's 232. I don't know. We'll double check that to make sure that we don't give you the wrong info regarding the UFC coming to Toronto. But that could be where we see the fight with Robert Whittaker and Kelvin Gastelum. We'll be down the road in that one. Originally, we were supposed to have 2 title fights tonight.
231.
231. Yeah, UFC 231 is coming to Toronto, guys. So definitely, if you're in the Toronto area, keep a watch out for tickets.
Because it could be the fight between Connor and...
Could be Connor and Khabib, but I think that might be later on. It might be Whittaker and Gastelum first before that one.
We'll have to wait and see, because knowing if it was Ottawa, we'd get a sleeper.
We'd probably get fight night again. But we got a wicked card tonight, though, guys. Even though Max Holloway is not defending the title tonight against Brian Ortega, probably not going to be fighting for a while due to concussion-like symptoms.
Yeah.
So we might not be able to see Max for a little bit, but I'm sure Max will be back down the road at some point, guys, and we'll get the fight with him and Brian Ortega that everybody wanted to see. So definitely stay tuned for that. But besides that, we got a wicked card. Daniel Cormier, Stipe Miocic, Francis Ngannou, Derek Lewis, Paul Felder against Platinum Mike Perry. What else do we have in this card?
That's electric.
Oh yeah, Michael Chiesa and Anthony Pettis, who are supposed to fight. The Brooklyn card, which got scrapped because of Connor's little incident where he went nuts and threw a dolly through a window, injuring several fighters and taking them off the card. So we're finally going to get a chance to see that fight between Anthony Pettis and Michael Chiesa, which should be a good fight. I know Chiesa has to pay more money for this fight because he missed weight. I don't know if he made weight a second time, but he missed the weight, so he's going to lose some of his bonus money tonight if he gets the W in that fight. We also got... I can't even pronounce the last guy's name.
Just say Kali versus Saki.
No. But yeah, it should be a wicked card.
I say so.
And we got Brock Lesnar in the crowd, who's possibly taking on the winner of Stipe and DC.
So what shouldn't happen? So that's UFC. The Hall of Fame just happened recently. Who do you see in the Hall of Fame next year for UFC?
Next year, I don't know. It's going to be a tough one to see who they get in there next year.
Do we see a woman? Do we see the second woman behind Rosie?
We could see Misha Tate at some point down the road, but I'm not sure how soon. Seeing that we just got Ronda Rousey this year, so we'll see what happens next year. We got Matt Serra. Matt Serra, guys, is in UFC 3 right now. Part of the Icons pack if you want to fight as Matt Serra. One of only 2 guys to beat George St. Pierre. The first guy to do it, I believe, was Matt Hughes. And his only other loss was against Matt Serra, way back in the UFC days.
George St. Pierre's a Hall of Famer. Can't wait to see his name. If there's an actual Hall of Fame for UFC.
Well, there is. I'm sure GSP will get in there at some point. There's no word yet on who GSP is going to face or what he's going to do next in the UFC.
Or if he's going to fight the game.
Or if he is going to come back. Hopefully he does. But, yeah, guys. If you're in the Toronto area, guys, UFC is coming to Toronto. UFC was 231?
231.
231 coming to Toronto, guys. So definitely stay tuned for that if you're in the Toronto area. get tickets for it. If you haven't been to a UFC event before, guys, you're definitely missing out. It's one of the coolest things you'll ever going to experience. I went when they went to Ottawa, did Fan Expo, watched the event. It's amazing. So definitely, if you're in the Toronto area and you want to watch UFC, definitely check that out. Definitely watch tonight's card. Definitely order it on the pay-per-view with Stipe Miocic and Daniel Cormier. It's going to be a hell of a fight. Probably go all 5 rounds.
Wow. So it could be a decision fight.
Very possible it could be a decision. It's going to be hard for Stipe to go inside on Daniel Cormier because of the takedowns and the ground and pound game that DC brings. That's definitely a threat that Stipe has never faced before, and he's going to face it tonight.
Yeah.
But if he can get inside and he can land some of those shots, Stipe's got heavy hands, and he definitely has the chance to knock Daniel Cormier out in this fight. It's just a matter of, can he get inside on DC?
Yeah.
Will it be able to stop the takedowns? That's basically the main thing for Stipe, is stopping Daniel's takedowns and trying to get inside and land the big heavy shots that we know Stipe can.
Anything else you want on TOC? Because so far, none of them viewers.
We're getting a few people. They'll comment eventually. Yeah, the co-main event, we got Derek Lewis and Francis Ngannou. Francis is a monster. He's been in some wars. I mean, the last fight with Stipe was a little bit rough for Francis, considering Francis had, he was on a tear heading into that one. He just knocked out Alistair Overeem. He was heading into the fight against Stipe Miocic, and Stipe just had the perfect game plan to shut his power right down, brought him to a decision, and was able to finish him. Unfortunately, we're not going to be able to see Max Holloway tonight. He had to bow out of the event due to concussion-like symptoms, so there's no telling when we're going to see Max Holloway fight again, but guarantee when he does fight, it'll probably be against Brian Ortega for sure. There was some fill-in fights that were possibly going to happen. It was almost Jeremy Stevens versus Frankie Edgar, but unfortunately Frankie was not able to go. Stevens was ready to go. He was willing to take this fight and do this fight on short notice, but Frankie wasn't. Frankie wasn't prepared. It wasn't enough time for Frankie to get ready to do this fight. So, unfortunately, we lost that fight on this card, but still a solid card if you think about it with what we have on there, and I think we should be all right with this one.
I agree.
We also was announced with Chuck Liddell and Tito Ortiz 3. That should be happening later on this year at some point.
Some point somewhere.
Not sure when. It's going to be done by Golden Boy Promotions. Those of you guys who don't know, that's Oscar De La Hoya's promotional company. So the rest of this card has not been announced for that one, so we'll have to wait and see what they do announce for the event with Chuck Liddell and Tito Ortiz, number 3. Don't think there should be a part 3.
No.
Chuck already beat him twice. There's really no need for a part 3. It's just basically for money.
And a friendly.
I mean, Tito apparently is not getting paid anything for this fight. He's basically doing it for free. Chuck's probably going to get a little chunk of money for this fight if he wants to do it. We'll have to wait and see what the rest of that card brings from Oscar De La Hoya. There's no date yet. There's no venue. We don't know if it's going to be in the octagon, if it's going to be in a boxing ring, what's going to happen with it. But Chuck and Tito 3 is happening at some point this year.
Yeah, not necessary, not needed, not wanted, not desired.
Nope. That is for sure.
So any dream fights you'd like to see in the octagon this year?
Dream fights? There's a couple. I mean, if John Jones can get off of his suspension, Jones and Lesnar would be good. Lesnar and Francis Ngannou would be a good one. Lesnar and Cormier. Lesnar and Stipe. Either one of those will be a wicked fights. DC does want 2 more fights. He wants to fight, if he wins tonight, against Brock Lesnar. If he wins that one, he wants 1 more crack at John Jones. So we'll see what happens there. If John can stay healthy, and stay clean and not test positive for the next fight. It's going to be interesting to see who wins that one. I mean, John, so far, if you think about it, is 2-0 against Cormier, but the other one was a non-decision. I think basically due to the drug test that John Jones failed heading into that second fight with Daniel. But if you guys haven't seen that knockout of John Jones and Daniel Cormier, that was absolutely horrifying what John was able to do to him in that fight with that kick, followed by those extra strikes that were completely unnecessary. But yeah, those are the two fights that Daniel wants to do. He wants Brock, and he wants to have one more go at John Jones. So we'll see what happens with John.
Yeah.
If he can pass this suspension, if he's not getting suspended, if he's going to be back in a couple months. So we'll see what's going to happen with John coming back for possibly another crack at Daniel Cormier. What's up, guys? Welcome. We're talking about UFC 226 tonight. Francis Ngannou, Derek Lewis, going to be a brawl at the heavyweight, followed by Stipe Miocic and Daniel Cormier. We were talking about Stipe's game plan. If Stipe can get inside on Daniel Cormier and land the big strikes and avoid the takedowns and the groundwork of DC, I think Stipe can win this fight very easily. But it's going to be tough because Daniel has not lost a round yet at heavyweight. And the way DC fights, he's going to bring the fight basically to Stipe. So Stipe is going to have to be on his toes and land those strikes when DC's coming in for the takedowns.
And we're going to see Lester possibly. We're going to see the stay-at-home champ.
Brock Lesnar is apparently going to get the winner. Unless things change. I don't know. Who knows what UFC is going to have planned next. I know Cain Velasquez is training. He's training with DC actually for this fight. And for those of you guys who have seen Cain Velasquez fight, you know that guy has cardio for days. So don't think DC is going to get tired in this fight against Stipe with training with Cain Velasquez. And he did say Cain Velasquez can have the next crack at the belt if DC does win it. So we'll see what happens there with DC and Cain Velasquez possibly coming back into the heavyweight picture. Cain hasn't fought in like 3, I think maybe 4 years, so it's going to be interesting to see what kind of shape Cain's in. Maybe Cain should do like a warm-up fight before he gets into the title picture. I know if the UFC was smart, they'd give Brock a warm-up fight. Maybe Brock takes on Francis if Francis wins tonight. Because you know if Francis wins tonight, he's going to be gunning for that title shot against either Stipe or Daniel. So, and if Brock gets in the way of that, you know, it might not work out well for UFC, depending on what they want to do with that. So they could have Francis take on Brock, #1 contender match. If Cain's coming back into the picture, have Cain Velasquez take on Brock Lesnar. The winner of that will get the next shot. So you never know what the UFC is going to do, basically, with their events.
Nope, they seem to care more about title fights and super fights than anything else. Time will tell.
Oh, yeah. And if you guys haven't got UFC 3 yet, definitely pick it up. The Icons Edition is available now, guys, for UFC 3. You get Tito Ortiz, Mirko Cro Cop, Kimbo Slice, Matt Serra is in the game, so definitely stay tuned for those guys in UFC 3. I'd love to hear what other guys you think is going to be added into the UFC 3 roster with through updates and through different things. That's a good little beer. We got 4 people watching this thing now.
Yeah, 2 comments. It's coming home. It's coming home. Football's coming home.
Football? What the hell's football have anything to do with UFC?
I have no idea. I don't know, but we got a response. So footballs are coming home, folks. Whatever that means.
Whatever that is, yep. Yeah. Oh, England.
England. Oh, that's right. They made the semis, I believe.
That's true, yeah. They're playing against the Croatians, I think, on Wednesday.
Yeah, the Russians didn't make it. That's bad for them.
It's going to be an interesting matchup for sure. But yeah, that's basically what we have for UFC. I mean, it's coming to Toronto, guys. UFC 231. If you're in the Toronto area, be sure to follow up when tickets are going to be on sale for that event. It's probably definitely an event that you guys don't want to miss out on if you're big UFC fans like me and you want to see the action live in person. I know UFC's got a wicked card coming to Calgary, so for those of you out there in Calgary, there's a wicked UFC card coming on that one. I believe it's Eddie Alvarez, I think, is fighting on that card. See if you can find the Calgary card. UFC Calgary. I think it's a fight night. But yeah, guys, if you're in the Calgary area, definitely check that one out if you're big UFC fans. If you haven't experienced it live, it's something that you must experience live at least one time. If you're huge fans, it really adds to the whole experience. It's nothing like watching on the TV. Watching on the TV is really cool. I like to watch on the TV as well and order the pay-per-views and watch it that way. But it's definitely nothing like seeing it live.
There's the card.
There's the card.
That's the card, it looks like. Oh my god, it's an amazing card.
So yeah, guys, July 28th at the Scotiabank Saddledome in Calgary if you're big UFC fans. This is a wicked card for you guys. Eddie Alvarez taking on Dustin Poirier. Jose Aldo taking on Jeremy Stevens. Ioana Jędrzejczyk taking on Tisa Torres. Alexander Hernandez taking on Oliver Mercier. Jordan Mein, Alex Morono. Randa Marcos, Nina Ansaroff. I mean, this is going to be a wicked card. So definitely, guys, if you're in the Calgary area, definitely check that one out.
Yep.
UFC Fight Night in Calgary, July 28th. Check that out. Go and see it if you're big fans.
It's actually Alvarez versus Poirier 2.
Oh, damn. Yeah. Alvarez versus Poirier 2, so that'll be a really good fight. Yeah, if you haven't seen Eddie Alvarez fight, the guy's amazing. Congrats to Ronda Rousey making it into the UFC Hall of Fame. It's well deserved for her. She had a lot of big wars over the years in UFC. I mean, I remember her fights with Miesha Tate, Kat Zingano, Liz Carmouche, Sarah McMahon, all kinds of different fights that she's had throughout her career. I mean, Ronda was a pioneer, really, for the female fighters in UFC. Basically, without Ronda Rousey, there would not be no female competitors fighting in UFC. So, big congratulations to Ronda Rousey on making the Hall of Fame. Definitely well deserved for what she has done for the sport of mixed martial arts over the couple years. And big ups to Michael Bisping for pointing out that Max Holloway wasn't right for his fight. Not many people would have noticed that, but Michael Bisping was one of the ones to notice it during an interview with Max Holloway, that something seemed off about him. He was slurring his words, he wasn't 100%, and Bisping pointed that out right away, and thanks to him that Max is not on this card and he's not suffering some serious damage that he probably would have suffered in this fight against Brian Ortega. So congratulations for him to pointing that out, and hopefully Max Holloway feels better soon and he can get back in the octagon and entertain us fans like we know that he can. So hopefully Max gets better and we get to see his fight down the road. But other than that, I'm still really excited for tonight's card. I think it's going to be really good. Definitely looking forward to watching Stipe Miocic and Daniel Cormier go at it tonight. Francis Ngannou and Derek Lewis, they had some bad blood at the weigh-in, so definitely looking forward to that. Those two going at it. Mike Perry is going to be an awesome fight, taking on Paul Felder.
Don't recognize the last name. I'm just waiting to see what the last name is after.
It's going to be a really, really, really good card with those guys. Anthony Pettis and Michael Chiesa. This was a fight that was supposed to happen. I believe it was UFC 223 or UFC in Brooklyn when they had that card, but that was scrapped due to Conor McGregor when he went on his big rampage and he started attacking the bus with all the fighters in. Khabib was in there, Michael Chiesa was in there, Ray Borg was in there, Rose Namajunas was in there, and Borg and Chiesa were two of the guys that got injured. I think Ray Borg got glass in his eyes when Conor threw the dolly through the bus, so he got injured there. Michael Chiesa suffered cuts on his face. That's why he was unable to compete at UFC in Brooklyn. That's why Ray Borg was taken off that card. Rose almost had her hand broken from Conor in that incident, but unfortunately she was okay and she was still able to compete on that card, so that was a good thing. So yeah, we're getting Michael Chiesa and Anthony Pettis are finally going to go at it tonight at UFC 226. So definitely looking forward to watching those two fight. 100%. I mean, Conor's probably going to get off those charges 100%, and Conor is likely to be fighting Khabib later on this year, probably at the year-end card. I believe probably like late December. Because I know Khabib was talking about fighting like November, December-ish, so that's probably when they're going to do that, is November or December-ish. But yeah, guys, if you guys have any questions about tonight's event, if you're looking forward to it,
I could go wrong ways and then I'll tell you who he is after. It's kind of funny. I don't mind that compliment. If he puts money on it, he lose money.
Yeah. But yeah, guys, we got a wicked card, so definitely looking forward to that one. There's quite a few good pay-per-views coming up. I know I just read lately that UFC 227 lost a fight the other day. Derek Brunson had to pull out due to an injury. I think it was his back injury, so he's no longer competing on that card, but probably still a decent card. I'm not too sure who's fighting on UFC 226 or 227. I know tonight it's Daniel Cormier and Stipe. There's basically a lot riding on this fight. Basically, Daniel's career is riding on tonight's fight. If he loses, he'll probably be done with the sport. Like if Daniel Cormier loses, I'm sure he'd be out. So definitely. Oh yeah, TJ Dillashaw and Cody Garbrandt. That's gonna be a sick fight. Definitely looking forward to that one then. But yeah, I mean tonight that's gonna be really tough. Daniel hasn't lost a round either at heavyweight, so Daniel definitely is going to be it's going to be tough to beat for sure. If Stipe can get inside on him, he can land the big power shots that we know Stipe has. He'll be able to stop Daniel, but the problem with that is he's opening himself up to takedowns and ground and pound from Daniel Cormier. Daniel Cormier's going to be pushing this fight, so it's going to be really close. Like, it's so hard to tell this fight that I can't even pick a winner in this one, really, because it's just one of those fights that you don't know what's going to happen in this one, really. It's so hard to pick one guy over the other guy, especially when Daniel hasn't lost a round yet at heavyweight. He's basically undefeated, and if Stipe's going to throw some leg kicks in there, he's got a very high chance of getting taken down by Daniel's wrestling. So, based on Daniel's wrestling, I don't know. This would be it's a hard fight to game plan for sure. But it's one of the big super fights that I'm glad is happening tonight, and I'm glad nothing happened with this. Even though Daniel did fall at the weigh-ins, or not the weigh-ins, but the post-fight presser and was nearly injured. So I'm glad that he didn't get injured, and we do get to see this fight with possibly the winner taking on Brock Lesnar or whoever else, right? I mean, I know if Francis wins, he's going to be asking for a fight with Stipe. And you can't really knock Francis if he does beat Derek Lewis to be next in line, because he hasn't lost that many fights, really. Francis Ngannou has been one of the toughest guys to finish inside the UFC. So definitely looking forward to that one. Wait and see if we get any more peoples. Settings.
Who the hell was that British dude, or what the hell?
I don't know. block him. Looks like a retard.
You know Harry Potter, right?
Yeah.
Ron Weasley's the redhead from that film.
Oh.
I was okay with that because my sister was a Harry Potter fan. Ron Weasley. It's just... I hate my dad on my phone. Stupid. My dad hates his phone. I hate the dad on my knee. Yeah, found her in plenty of fish, and the rest is history.
Nice. But yeah, guys, that's basically it for UFC news. There's not really much else to go on except for the one in Toronto. Definitely check out the one in Toronto. UFC 231, I believe it is. And the one in Calgary, July 28th. I believe tickets are already available for that one. So definitely, if you're in the Calgary area,
go check it out.
Definitely check it out. It's definitely something you want to watch for sure. Well, guys, on that note, enjoy the fights tonight. Prelims are on right now, so if you guys have, I believe it's Fox Sports 1 or not Sportsnet, but TSN. The fights are on there right now, so definitely check out the prelims. They're still on for about another hour or 2 hours, I believe. So check those out at 10 o'clock. So definitely check out that, check out the fights on Sportsnet, or not Sportsnet, but TSN and Fox Sports 1, the prelims right now. Main card is at 10 o'clock, guys, on pay-per-view. If you haven't ordered it yet, definitely order it now while you still can. You're not going to want to miss out on one of the best fights of the year, probably. Stipe Miocic and Daniel Cormier. So if you haven't ordered it yet, order it now and check it out on pay-per-view.
It's definitely worth it.
And thank you guys for joining the stream for UFC 226.